I was 7 years old the first time I felt real fear. The kind that makes your stomach twist and your legs move before your brain catches up. It was the summer of 2001, and I was spending the weekend at my uncle's house in Henderson, Nevada. He lived just a few blocks from my parents, so my older cousin Jenna, who was 14, was often left in charge of watching me, my sister Emily, who was 9, and our younger cousins, Caleb and Ryan, who were 5 and 10. That afternoon, we decided to walk to Sunrise Brews, a small coffee shop on Lake Mead Parkway. It wasn't far, barely a mile away. Back then, no one thought twice about kids walking around on their own. The biggest concern was making sure we looked both ways before crossing the street. Sunrise Brews was our favorite place. They had the up-oo-wee, best chocolate muffins, and they always gave kids free whipped cream on top of their drinks. But the best part was the kids' corner. It had bean bags, a few old arcade games, and a little reading nook with shelves full of picture books. Jenna bought us each a hot chocolate, then sat at a table near the counter while we ran off to play. I was climbing into one of the bean bags when I noticed a woman sitting nearby. She was watching us. At first, I assumed she was someone's mom, but something about her seemed off. She wasn't smiling, wasn't reading a book, wasn't scrolling through a phone like most adults did. She was just staring. Then as I got up to grab a book, she spoke. "Hey there," she said, her voice sweet and friendly. "Want a donut?" I hesitated. "I already have my muffin." She smiled. "Oh, but a warm donut would be nice, wouldn't it?" "Come on, we just have to grab some coins from my car." Every instinct screamed at me to run, so I did. I bolted back to my cousin's, heart hammering in my chest. "That lady's weird," I whispered. Emily frowned. "What lady?" I pointed across the room. The woman was still there, watching us. "She asked me to go to her car with her," I whispered. Emily's eyes widened. "You didn't, right?" I shook my head. At that moment, I realized something else. There were other kids sitting nearby, but when I asked them if she was their mom, they all said no. So why was she here? We decided to stay in the kids' corner until Jenna came to get us. I peeked out every few minutes. The woman was still there, watching, but then, suddenly, she was gone. "Maybe she left?" Caleb said hopefully. I wasn't convinced. 10 minutes later, Jenna called us over. "Time to go." As we walked toward the door, I glanced around, and there she was, sitting alone at a table near the window, watching us leave. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. We started walking home, chatting and laughing, but a few minutes in, something felt wrong. A car drove by. Slowly. I barely caught a glimpse of the driver, but my stomach dropped. It was her. "Guys," I whispered. "It's that lady." Jenna turned. The car kept moving. "Maybe she's just leaving too," she said, though she didn't sound sure. We kept walking. A minute later, the car passed again, slower, and then, when we turned onto a quieter street, the car stopped. Jenna didn't hesitate. "Come on," she said sharply, leading us off the sidewalk and into a random front yard. We cut through the side, hopped fences, ran through backyards. We didn't stop until we reached our street. When we finally got home, we told Jenna's parents everything. I don't know if they called the police. All I knew was that I never saw that woman again, but the fear stayed with me, even years later. It had been over 20 years since that day. I was 29 now, living in Las Vegas, working the morning shift at a coffee shop called Westside Grounds on Charleston Boulevard. The past was just that, the past. Or so I thought. One morning, on my way to work, my car broke down. The engine sputtered, then died completely right outside a small auto shop on Main Street. Frustrated, I called my manager to let him know I'd be late, then stepped out to talk to the mechanic. The garage was quiet, the only sound being a radio playing some old country song. A man in his 50s walked out, wiping his hands on a rag. "Need some help?" he asked. "Yeah, my car just died," I sighed. "Pretty sure it's the battery." He nodded and headed over to take a look. Then from the corner of my eye, I saw her. I froze. It had been 20 years, but I knew it was her. Same sharp features, same unsettling stare. She was standing by the entrance of the garage talking to a younger man, and for a split second her gaze met mine. And she smiled. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. The memories came rushing back. The coffee shop, the slow-moving car, the chase through the backyards. I knew I wasn't a scared little kid anymore. But seeing her again, knowing she was still out there, still watching, I felt 7 years old all over again. The mechanic's voice snapped me out of it. "Looks like a dead battery," he said. "I can replace it, won't take long." I nodded, barely hearing him. When I turned back, she was gone. I scanned the parking lot. Nothing. I told myself it didn't matter. It was just a coincidence. She probably didn't even remember me. But deep down, I knew better. That night, as I closed up the coffee shop, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Fear. I locked the doors, heart pounding. And then, as I stepped outside, a car rolled by, slowly, watching. Mornings in Phoenix, Arizona were always the same for me. Hot, dry, and unbearably bright. I had been living here for about 2 years, trying to get my life together after a series of dead-end jobs and bad financial decisions. Money had been tight for a while, and with bills piling up, I was doing freelance graphic design work to stay afloat. Since I didn't have an office, I spent most of my mornings working out of a local grounded coffee on Central Avenue. It was a small but cozy cafe, nestled between a dry cleaner and a nail salon. They had good Wi-Fi, cheap refills on coffee, and a quiet atmosphere that made it easier to focus. That morning, I had settled into my usual spot, a high-top table, near the window, where I could plug in my laptop and work uninterrupted. The cafe wasn't too busy, just a few early risers reading newspapers, a couple of college students hunched over their books, and a man sitting alone in the far corner with a large coffee and no food. I barely noticed him at first. I had been working for about 3 hours when I decided to take a quick break. I stood up, stretched, and walked over to the counter to grab another cup of coffee. That's when I realized something felt off. I patted my jacket pocket. My wallet was gone. Panic set in immediately. I checked my bag, the floor around my chair. Nothing. I knew I had it when I first got here. My stomach clenched as I pulled out my phone. And that's when I saw the notification. A £1 surcharge had just been made on my credit card at this very cafe. I looked around, my heart pounding. Someone had stolen my wallet, and they were still here. I swallowed hard and forced myself to think. The charge had just gone through, which meant the thief was still nearby. Then I spotted him, the man in the far corner. He was sitting alone, hunched over his laptop, a large coffee in front of him. No food, no sign of work, just staring at his screen. The uneasy feeling I had earlier made sense now. I watched as he got up and walked toward the self-order kiosk near the counter. He pulled something out of his pocket, tapped the screen a few times, and stepped away. A second later, my phone buzzed again. Another charge. That was it. That was all the proof I needed. Adrenaline surged through me as I walked straight toward him. "Hey!" I snapped. The man turned, his expression unreadable. "Give me my wallet." He blinked at me. "What?" "You stole my wallet," I said, my voice rising. "I have proof. You just used my card, right here, twice." His eyes darted to the counter, then back to me. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Cut the crap," I said. "Give it back." For a split second, I saw something in his face. Panic. Then, without warning, he grabbed his bag and bolted for the door. I didn't even think. I ran after him. By the time I burst through the doors, he was already halfway across the parking lot, fumbling with his keys. He jumped into a rusted black Nissan Altima, throwing his backpack into the passenger seat. I sprinted toward my own car, a beat-up Toyota Camry, and jumped inside. As his car sped out of the parking lot, I threw mine into reverse and peeled out after him. I knew I wasn't about to pull some high-speed action movie chase through Phoenix, but I was going to get his license plate. The Altima swerved onto 7th Avenue, weaving through traffic. I stayed back just enough to keep up, gripping my steering wheel tightly. And then, at a red light, I got my brake. The light ahead turned red, and his car slowed to a stop. I pulled up just far enough behind to read his license plate. Arizona plate, JFD 2896, gotcha. I grabbed my phone, shaking with adrenaline, and called the police. I gave the 911 dispatcher everything. The plate number, the car description, what the guy looked like, even the direction he was heading. "Are you still following him?" she asked. I glanced up. The light turned green and the Altima sped off. "No," I lied. "I'm heading back to where it happened. I wasn't about to risk getting myself killed over a wallet. Besides, I had what I needed." I turned my car around and drove back to Grounded Coffee. When I walked in, everything looked exactly as I had left it, except for one thing. There was a fresh bag of food sitting on the counter, the order that the thief had just placed before running. It had my stolen credit card charge attached to it. The barista behind the counter raised an eyebrow. That guy ran out and left his food." I stared at the bag, and then, out of sheer pettiness, I picked it up. I walked back to my table, sat down, and ate his damn food, and you know what? It tasted amazing. I had just finished eating the thief's breakfast sandwich when my phone rang. "Hello? Is this, Mark Reynolds?" "Yeah," I said, wiping my mouth. "This is Officer Taylor with the Phoenix Police Department. We have some good news for you." My heart jumped. "You found him?" "Yep. We ran the plate, and one of our officers spotted the vehicle near an apartment complex on McDowell Road. The driver tried to take off, but after a short pursuit, we got him. We also found your wallet in his car." Relief washed over me. "Did he have my cards?" "All of them," Officer Taylor said, "and some cash. You can pick it up at the station later today." I exhaled, the tension in my chest finally releasing. That's amazing, thank you." "No problem, you got lucky. We don't usually catch these guys so fast. But your quick thinking helped." After I hung up, I sat back in my chair and took a deep breath. I had come into the cafe that morning expecting a normal workday. Instead, I had almost been robbed, chased a thief through Phoenix, and somehow ended up winning. And the best part? I ate his breakfast. Life didn't get much sweeter than that. I never thought I'd end up working in food service, but life has a funny way of putting you in places you never expected. I had moved to Austin, Texas about 6 months ago, looking for a fresh start after dropping out of college. My dad had always told me, work is work, no matter what kind it is. And I kept that in mind when I applied for a job at Horizon Cafe, a small coffee shop on Congress Avenue. It wasn't my dream job, but it paid the bills. Most shifts were manageable, filled with the usual morning rush of caffeine-dependent customers. Business people, students, and tired parents made up most of our crowd. Some were polite, some were impatient, and then there were the ones who made me question how they functioned in society. That morning started like any other. I clocked in at 7 a.m., tied my apron, and took my place behind the register. Rachel, my manager, was already making lattes at the espresso machine, and my coworker, Jason, was restocking pastries. The line moved fast, and I went through the usual routine. "What can I get for you?" "Would you like that hot or iced?" "That'll be $4.75. Then he showed up. A middle-aged guy, maybe in his late 40s, with an unshaven face and a stained hoodie. Something about the way he walked up to the counter put me on edge. "I need a coffee and a breakfast sandwich," he muttered, tossing a $5 bill on the counter. "Sure thing," I said, ringing up his order. "Do you want cream or sugar?" He didn't answer, just stood there, staring at the menu like it personally offended him. I shrugged it off, handed him his change, and moved on to the next customer. That should have been the last I heard from him. But it wasn't. 15 minutes passed and the morning rush was finally dying down. I was taking an order for an older woman when I saw the man return to the counter. He looked annoyed. I didn't even get a chance to ask what was wrong before he slammed his tray down. "These fries are cold," he barked, and I said no pickles on my burger. I blinked, confused. "Sir, we don't serve fries or burgers. This is a coffee shop." The man scowled. "Don't be smart with me. This sandwich has cheese and I don't eat cheese." I glanced at his plate. It was a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich just like the one he ordered. He had already eaten half of it. "Sir, you ordered a breakfast sandwich," I said as calmly as I could. "It comes with cheese. If you wanted it without, we could have made that adjustment before you." "I want a refund," he interrupted, crossing his arms. I sighed. "Unfortunately, I can't offer refunds for food that's already been partially eaten." His face turned red. "You think I'm trying to scam you over a damn sandwich?" I could feel eyes on us. Customers were shifting uncomfortably. Jason, my coworker, stepped closer, ready to step in if needed. At that moment, Rachel walked over. "Is there a problem?" "This kid won't give me a refund," the man snapped. Rachel, to her credit, didn't even flinch. "Sir, we don't do refunds for food that's been eaten. If you'd like, we can remake your sandwich without cheese." "I don't want another sandwich. I want my money back." Rachel shook her head. "I'm sorry, but I can't do that." That's when he lost it. The man slammed his fist against the counter, making the cups rattle. "This place is a joke," he shouted. "I've been coming here for years, and this is how you treat customers?" Rachel narrowed her eyes. "Sir, I've worked here for 5 years, and I don't remember ever seeing you before." His face twisted with rage. "I'm gonna make sure no one comes here again. You'll regret this." Rachel crossed her arms. "Sir, I'm asking you to leave." The entire cafe had gone silent. Even Jason looked nervous. "Yisha?" the man sneered. "Or what?" Rachel didn't hesitate. "Or I call the cops." That seemed to get through to him. He grabbed his tray, threw it to the ground, and stormed out of the cafe. The door slammed shut behind him, and just like that, the tension broke. I exhaled, realizing I had been holding my breath. "Jesus," Jason muttered. "What a psycho." Rachel sighed. "If he comes back, we will call the police immediately." I nodded, but something told me he wasn't done yet. 15 minutes passed and we were back to business as usual. I was cleaning up the mess he left behind when I heard a loud crack from outside. Rachel and I ran to the front window just in time to see him standing in the parking lot, with a rock in his hand. My stomach dropped. Before either of us could react, he hurled the rock at Rachel's car, shattering the windshield. Glass exploded, everywhere. Customers gasped. Someone screamed. The man didn't wait to see the damage. He took off running. "Call 911, Rachel yelled. Jason was already dialing. My hands were shaking as I watched the man disappear down the street. Rachel turned to me. "Did you see his face?" I nodded. "Yeah, I'm not forgetting it anytime soon." The police arrived within 10 minutes. Rachel gave them a full description and I backed up everything she said. Jason even remembered what car the guy had been driving, a beat-up red Toyota Corolla. One of the officers took notes. "We'll check the area. If he's nearby, we'll find him." I wasn't holding my breath. People got away with worse all the time. But then, just as the officers were about to leave, the radio on one of their shoulders crackled. "Suspect spotted near 5th and Congress," a voice reported. "Matching description." Rachel and I exchanged a look. The officers nodded at us. "We'll be in touch." An hour later, Rachel got the call. They got him. He had been hiding in an alley, probably thinking we wouldn't actually call the cops. Turns out, he had warrants for vandalism and disorderly conduct. The damage to Rachel's car? Felony property destruction. We spent the rest of the day shaken but relieved. "Free coffee for life," Jason joked. "You deserve it after today." I just laughed, still in shock. That day I learned That working in a cafe wasn't just about making lattes. Sometimes it was about standing your ground. Working late shifts at Walmart Supercenter on 38th Avenue in Denver, Colorado, wasn't exactly how I pictured my life at 24. But with rent due for my tiny studio apartment on Sheridan Boulevard, I didn't have many options. The job wasn't glamorous, but it kept me afloat. And after an 8-hour shift stocking shelves and dealing with impatient customers, all I wanted was a hot cup of coffee. That night, I clocked out at 11:45 p.m., stretching my sore back as I grabbed my backpack from the break room. The air outside was crisp, the streets quieter than usual. Most of the nearby businesses were already closed, their neon signs flickering in the distance. I zipped up my hoodie and started my usual 10-minute walk to Grounded Brews, a small coffee shop open 24 hours on Lowell Boulevard. I liked it there. It wasn't fancy, but it was quiet, had good Wi-Fi, and the barista, Lena, knew my order by heart. A black coffee with a splash of vanilla. It was my little end-of-the-night ritual, a moment of peace before I headed home. But that night felt different. As I walked, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was behind me. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. Late shifts made me tired, and the dark streets could play tricks on the mind. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, steady. I glanced back and saw him. A man in his late 40s, maybe early 50s, with a scruffy beard and an oversized hoodie. He was about 20 feet behind me, walking at the same pace. I ignored him and kept moving. Maybe he was just heading home. Then he spoke. "I'm following you." My blood ran cold. Then he laughed, a low, eerie chuckle that sent a shiver down my spine. I forced myself to keep walking, gripping my backpack strap tightly. My heart pounded against my ribs. This wasn't just paranoia anymore, this was real. I quickened my pace, hoping he'd lose interest. But when I turned onto Lowell Boulevard, he turned too. I wasn't imagining it. He was following me. I reached Grounded Brews in record time, practically yanking the door open. The warm scent of coffee and pastries should have been comforting, but my pulse was still racing. Lena looked up from behind the counter and smiled. "Hey, Caleb. The usual?" I nodded, my voice caught in my throat. I glanced behind me. The man had stopped just outside the shop. He wasn't coming in, just watching me through the glass. I sat at a booth near the back, gripping my coffee cup with shaky hands. Maybe he'd get bored and leave. Maybe I was overreacting. But every time I peeked outside, he was still there, leaning against a street lamp, rocking back and forth on his heels. I checked my phone. No missed calls, no messages. Who could I even call? The police? What would I tell them? Hey, some guy is standing outside looking at me weird. 15 minutes passed, he didn't move. I couldn't sit there all night. Taking a deep breath, I threw away my cup, adjusted my backpack, and walked out. He followed. The moment I stepped outside, I felt his presence behind me. I walked faster. So did he. I turned onto Sheridan Boulevard, my apartment complex just 5 blocks away. My hands clenched into fists inside my hoodie pocket. My mind raced. Should I run? Should I yell? For help? Then his voice cut through the night. "I know where you live." My stomach dropped. I ran. I didn't care who saw me, didn't care if I looked ridiculous. My only thought was getting home before he could reach me. I heard him running behind me, his heavy footsteps pounding against the pavement. I swerved through side streets, cutting through an empty parking lot. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but I pushed forward. Then, my apartment building. I sprinted to the entrance, fumbling with my key card. The lock clicked open and I threw myself inside, slamming the security gate shut behind me. He stopped at the entrance, gripping the bars. His smile never wavered. "I'll see you soon," he whispered. Then he turned and walked away. I stood there panting, watching him disappear down the street. My body trembled with adrenaline. Was he bluffing, just trying to scare me? I hurried up the stairs to my 3rd-floor apartment, locking the door the second I stepped inside. I double-checked the deadbolt, then the windows. I checked my phone. 1:05 a.m. I should call someone. The cops? But what could they do? He was gone now. I paced my tiny living room, every creak in the floor making me jump. Then, bang, bang, bang. My breath caught in my throat. Someone was knocking on my door. I crept toward the peephole. It was him. He stood there, shoulders hunched, his face half hidden by his hoodie. Then he laughed. A deep, rasping laugh that sent ice through my veins. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, as suddenly as he arrived, he was gone. I sat awake for hours, my body tense with fear. Every noise outside made me flinch. I replayed his words over and over. I know where you live. At some point, exhaustion took over and I dozed off on the couch. When I woke up, sunlight was streaming through the blinds. Had it really happened, or was it some kind of sleep-deprived nightmare? Then I checked my door. There were scratches near the handle, like someone had been messing with the lock. Panic surged through me. Had he tried to get in? I grabbed my phone, scrolling through my contacts. I had to tell someone. I called my landlord first, telling him what happened. He wasn't much help, just muttered something about crazies in the city and told me to be careful. I debated calling the police, but what could they do? He hadn't technically broken in. Still, I had to do something. I packed a bag and crashed at my friend Eric's place for a few nights. I barely slept, jumping at every sound. When I finally went back to my apartment, I installed extra locks. I changed my schedule, taking Ubers home instead of walking. I even started carrying pepper spray. I never saw him again, but I never forgot. Every time I walked home, I felt like someone was watching. And maybe, just maybe, he still was. I never thought I'd end up working at a coffee shop, but life had a way of forcing me into places I never planned on being. Just a few months ago, I lost my dad. He had been everything to me, a hard-working mechanic who raised me alone after my mom left when I was 10. When he passed, everything fell apart. The bills piled up. The house in Tacoma needed maintenance I couldn't afford, and the loan payments he had taken out for my college tuition still haunted me. I dropped out of school. There was no choice. The only thing that mattered was surviving. That's how I ended up here, working the late-night shift at Belltown Brews, a small coffee shop tucked between an old record store and a bar in downtown Seattle. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. The nights were quiet. After 10 p.m., we'd get a few night owls, college students, late shift workers, and the occasional drunk guy stumbling in from the bar next door. I worked alongside Maddie, my co-worker, and as of a few weeks ago, my girlfriend. We hit it off, fast. She had this energy about her, always laughing, always keeping things light. With her around, even the long hours didn't feel so bad. But then he showed up. At first, I didn't think much of it. Just another guy coming in late, sitting in the corner with a black coffee, staring at nothing. But then he kept coming back. And every time his eyes were on me. Not in a casual way. Not like a guy trying to get a girl's attention. This was different. Unblinking. Cold. The first night, I shook it off. The second night, it made me nervous. By the third, I couldn't ignore the pit in my stomach. Maddie noticed it too. "That guy's giving me the creeps," she whispered as we stood behind the counter. I glanced at him. Long, unkempt hair, a thick beard, and a worn-out leather jacket. He just sat there, hands wrapped around his mug, eyes locked on me. "Yeah," I muttered. "Me too." And that was just the beginning. The guy kept coming back. Every night, the same corner, the same black coffee, the same stare. I started to dread my shifts. Maddie tried to brush it off, making jokes to lighten the mood, but even she couldn't hide the unease in her voice. "You know, if he orders a cappuccino, I might actually pass out from shock," she said one night. I didn't laugh. By the second week, he started staying later, past midnight, past closing. Sometimes he'd leave, only to return an hour later, always watching, always silent. One night, as Maddie and I were closing up, I caught sight of him, outside. He was standing on the sidewalk, hands shoved into his pockets, staring through the glass. The sight of him in the dim streetlight sent a chill through me. "Maddie," I whispered. She looked up from wiping the espresso machine. "Shit," she muttered. "He's still there?" I nodded. We locked the doors and pretended not to see him. He didn't leave right away. He just stood there watching until finally, after what felt like forever, he turned and disappeared into the night. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. A few nights later, I was leaving alone. Maddie had called out sick, so I had closed up by myself. I hurried to my car, keys clutched tight in my hand, eyes scanning the parking lot. I didn't see him. Relief washed over me. Maybe I was just paranoid. Maybe he had finally moved on. Then I saw the shadow. He was standing behind my car. My breath caught in my throat. He wasn't moving, just standing there, waiting. I turned on my heel and rushed back to the door, fumbling with my keys. I yanked it open and locked myself inside. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my phone and called Maddie. "He's here," I whispered. "Call the cops," she said immediately. But I hesitated. He hadn't done anything, not yet. I peeked out the window. He was still there, just standing, just waiting. I didn't sleep that night. The next night, Maddie and I both worked. I was relieved to have her there, but the tension in my chest never eased. I felt his presence before I even saw him. Sure enough, he was back. "Maddie," I muttered, nodding toward the door. She turned and her face paled. "I've had enough of this," she said. Before I could stop her, she stormed to the door and yanked it open. "Hey," she snapped. "What the hell do you want?" The man didn't answer. He just stood there, watching us. "Leave," she said firmly. For the first time, he moved. One step forward. I grabbed Maddie's arm and pulled her back inside. We locked the door. He stood there for another minute, then walked away into the night. But we knew it wasn't over. The last time I saw him, it was past 2 a.m. Maddie and I had just closed up. We stepped outside together, my heart pounding in my chest. Then we saw him. He was across the parking lot, leaning against a street lamp, watching. Maddie and I didn't speak. We just ran to my car. As soon as I was inside, I locked the doors and started the engine. The man took a step forward. I slammed the car into reverse and peeled out of the parking lot. Maddie clutched my hand, breathing heavily. When I glanced in the rearview mirror, he was still standing there watching as we disappeared down the road. I never saw him again, but I never forgot.